If you have a problem with women preachers, you have a problem with the Bible. Hi, I'm Jeremy. I'm a deep skeptic, also a pastor. Yeah, I got the receipts. Let's go. It's always been interesting to me the overlap between people who say that you should read the Bible literally and the people who want to perpetuate the misogynistic view that limits women's voice and leadership in the church. Because if you look at the New Testament and the earliest parts of Christianity, it's real clear. Women belong at every level of leadership. At the very top level, you have to realize that Jesus' ministry would never have actually happened if it weren't for women. You find this at the beginning of Luke chapter 8. It says that Jesus' ministry was bankrolled, was funded by women. It actually names three: Mary Magdalene, Joanna, and Susanna, who it says supported Jesus out of their own means. And it actually says, and many more. This was not uncommon in the ancient world that ministries, important things were supported by women who were powerful and successful in their own right. And that's what happened with Jesus' ministry. It was funded, bankrolled, made happen by women. One time I heard a pastor say that they were just cooking and cleaning for them. That is not it, and that is so awful and diminishing. They were funding it. It wouldn't happen without these very strong and successful women. And speaking of Mary Magdalene, she was the very first preacher and evangelist. She was the first one to learn about the resurrection of Jesus in the Easter story, and she was sent out by Jesus to tell people about that. That is the definition of preaching, of evangelism. And it wasn't just some random person that told her to do it. It was Jesus. Jesus was the one who made the first female preacher and evangelist a woman. And I know what you're saying. You're thinking, oh, but those are sort of circumstantial. Those aren't official roles, etc., etc. Well, don't worry. We've got that too. In Romans chapter 16, Paul is like saying goodbye to everybody in his letter, and he's sending greetings to different people, and he sends greetings to Andronicus and Junia, who he says are prominent among the apostles. Junia is a female name, always is. In ancient literature, there's lots of Junias. There's actually one reference to a masculine version of the name, but Junia is a woman's name, and she was apostle. She was the person at the highest level of leadership in the church at that time, and she was a woman. Oh yeah, and like for centuries afterwards, early church leaders praised her for being a female apostle. And then at some point, there were these systems of oppression set up to limit women's leadership in the church, and those things are just wrong. And when you hear somebody say something about women not being supposed to be preachers or supposed to have some sort of subservient role to men, that's not just a misogynistic statement. That's not just individual misogyny. That is systemic misogyny, and it's worse. It's more insidious. And they don't just limit women's voices in the church, which they do, or teach women that they should just obey whatever a man says, which can be very dangerous. They also lend material support to the systems that oppress women, and that's not okay. That's not okay with God for sure, because you can see over and over the Bible is really clear that God is not down with oppression. In fact, God is constantly on the side of the victims of oppression and tells God's people to be and do the same. It's time for the church to stand up for women and push back against the systems that oppress them.